Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Joined, as always, by Mark Ostrander, Grant Turner. Good morning, boys. How are you?
Doing well.
Doing great, buddy.
We are in the throes of wrestling season. Lots to talk about. Let's get right to it. Let's start out with kind of some tough news. Noah Surtin at Mizzou medically retires. Perennial national qualifier, really tough kid, exciting kid. Probably my favorite memory of Noah is he wrestled in Border Brawl and beat Jeremiah Reno, who was an undefeated four-time state champ. And I still remember when the match was over. I think my dad was in Noah's corner, and he goes, "Was that supposed to happen like that?" So said, no, that was not the point spread when the match started. So GT, I know you work with Nike a lot, and I also at least one memory of Noah getting, I think, a cement job in a Nike two-piece. So what are your thoughts or memories of Noah?
Well, it's hard to like encapsulate someone's career, like where they just kind of, due to injury or, just hanging it up. But I think the neck brace, like when he had like his whole, it was like almost like Grant Leith.
Yeah.
So it's like I just picture him when I see him, like his name pop up on a bracket. I just think like neck brace, because I was like, oh, this is such a wild look for a collegiate wrestler. But I think just him competing at the highest level, like in the Big 12, and then just some of the matches that he had at the Big 12 championships, they just come to mind. But nothing necessarily specific that pops out. But yeah, sad to see, man.
Scrappy dude, for sure. Yeah, and Mark, Mizzou's been bit by the injury bug. We talked about this, and the next subject is Iowa State as well. So we can kind of combine these, but like Rocky Elam hasn't wrestled all year. There's whispers about him maybe taking a medical red shirt. Bastida, there's talk of him taking a medical red shirt. Echemendia is supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks out with an ankle sprain. We saw Cody Chittum come out of red shirt and get his own cement job in his first match back. Certainly feels like there will be Chittum 57, probably Pinheiro 49, and Echemendia 41. It doesn't really make sense that they would pull Chittum if they didn't have come to that agreement and just create a series of wrestle-offs. And so the conversations that we've had about whether or not Echemendia is the best guy on his feet at 49 may now convert to how he does with Mendez and Aliras and Bartlett, right?
Without a doubt. I mean, he's so talented. He's so strong, but it's a different kind of strength at 141. I mean, cutting weight, and you have to have gas tank at that weight because Mendez isn't going to stop coming. I mean, it's going to be all over you. So if you don't have a great gas tank and you didn't have the perfect weight cut, it's hard to wrestle 7 minutes with somebody at that pace. Same thing, with Bartlett, and same thing, So, I mean, that to me, the only other thing I can think of, David, is that maybe his injury is a little bit worse than people think, 4 to 5 weeks out. Maybe they're thinking, well, we're going to pull Pinheiro down to 49 then, because we don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to wrestle.
That's a realistic possibility for sure.
And then, have our 57-pounder ready to go, get some matches, go that way. So I don't know. Missouri, Elam would be a huge, loss for them for this year, because they had a group of kids that were right around the round of 12 All-Americans. We thought probably 3 or 4 All-Americans, which puts them right up there when you have somebody that can make the finals, obviously. And Elam was one of the guys you were talking about, had a shot at making the finals. So, but it happens to a lot of good teams. You lose good guys, but not usually 2 of your best guys in the same year. That's tough.
Mizzou's a model of consistency. Grant works with them. If they don't take top 10, you think something's wrong. The Iowa State thing's interesting. To talk about Echemendia, I talked to a Division I coach, like a guy at a top 10 program, and he said, he goes, people talk a lot about guys that cut a lot of weight. He goes, the guys that cut a lot of weight, it benefits them at the end of the year. They've had the most time to get their body down. And he said at the Nationals, especially if they're not 25 or 33 pounders, they get way more time off the scale. And so I trust this guy a lot. Like, he's a smart guy. He's well thought out. And so I thought that was really interesting. The other thing about, if you just try to blitz Echemendia, like, you might walk right into something upper body, man. Like, he doesn't mind you shooting and bringing you up off your shot or his shot. So super exciting guy to watch. And Grant, I think Iowa State's going to be really freaking good next year between like the Cuban and Frost and Swiderski and Pinheiro and Chittum and MJ and Sawyer Bartelt and Herrera, or Bastida if he comes back and they wrestle Herrera this year. They might have the second best team on paper, minus the portal and the NIL stuff, where everybody shifts around. But they don't lose that much. I mean, what we're talking about is them losing guys this year. Like, hey, you lose Bastida this year. Well, that means you get them next year. And heavyweight clears the hell out this year. Like, it is massively top heavy with seniors. So he would be my preseason favorite next year.
Yeah, I think also Connor Uton was done for the year as well at 65. Yeah. I think the biggest drawback for some of the teams that are dealing with injuries, especially Mizzou and Iowa State, is that like both of those teams were in contention to take home a trophy this year. And with a lot of the injuries that they're happening, they're going to have to wrestle their tails off in order to secure some of those kind of almost, I don't want to say guaranteed style points. Like, we all think that like Rocky Elam would be on the podium,
Yeah, he's been there every year for sure. Yeah.
And I think, like with somebody like also like Noah Certain, like he's on the fringe, if not all-American caliber all the time. Like he's proven that over his career. I think when you have some of the other guys like, Bastida's actually done, like very well could be on the podium. We all were very high on him last year. Injuries kind of derailed his national tournament a little bit. But when you're looking at a program that's like consistent, like a lot of these programs are that are now in the perennial top 10, injuries do happen, but it gives these other kids that are like either the number twos or like guys that are on the team opportunities this year in order to like really, have an opportunity, right? Like if Cody Chittum like just got his red shirt pulled, now it's like, hey dude, it's your year now. Or Herrera or whoever it is that's going to be backing up Rocky Elam when it comes big tournament time. That's just kind of where it's at. So it's, like you see a lot of these kids get that exposure that they probably would have never got if the kids didn't get hurt.
Yeah. I just wrote down something real quick. How crazy it would be if Iowa State, Missouri, Michigan, Cornell, and Arizona State, if none of those teams finish in the top 8. None of them. And right now, I'm not sure any of them are favored to. Like if Cornell doesn't have Shapiro, they're not in the top 8. Arizona State got depleted by the portal. If Mizzou doesn't have Rocky, they're not making top 8. Michigan's got 2 All-Americans, and one of them is not ranked in the top 8. And Iowa State, we just talked about. I mean, if you take Bastida and Uton and Swiderski off the team, like maybe one of those teams, if you say top 10 or like top 6, none of them are in top 6, I would bet strongly none of those teams are in the top 6. I mean, and at the beginning of the year, there's no way I would have said that. So it's a bigger picture of what Grant's saying. Hey, other guys got to step up, not only on those teams, but other teams are going to slide up now. I mean, like Minnesota went from 17th to 4th, and
who would have thunk that, David? Early in the year, before all this
probably
happened.
The guy that works for Nike had a good idea.
But he didn't tell us. He didn't tell us that was happening.
Well,
So-
McAnally jumping too is a significant part of it, right? But obviously Gable. And the thing about Gable is when they do points, like Gable in the rankings is the same amount of points as Ryan Crookham right now. He's the same amount of points as like Ja'Cory Teamer right now. They're both worth 20. And like there's one you got way more confidence in. Like way more confidence in. So, I mean, I think the question with Gable is, does he bonus all the way through? Or does he do like, Nickel did that one year in the finals against Colin Moore and just win 6-0 and Mark and I win our fantasy title, that can happen too. So, but like he may just enjoy it. Like just enjoy his last 7 minutes. But I mean, my point is you're seeing a changing of the guard here. Like if none of these teams finish top 8, that's going to be wild. Like we won't talk about it because we're like, okay, well, Iowa's, or Penn State's there, Iowa's there, Oklahoma State's there, so the Blue Bloods will be at the top. Ohio State will probably be in there. But I mean, like if I look at the team rankings right now, it's Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State, Minnesota, Virginia Tech, Nebraska, Ohio State, Missouri. Missouri's at 8. Iowa State's at 10. The other ones aren't even in the conversation. So Missouri's at 8, and if you take Rocky out, they're not in there. You take Bastida out, Iowa State's not in there. Cornell's at 11. You take Shapiro out, they're not in there. And then the next teams up are like Northern Iowa, Little Rock, West Virginia, Lehigh. Like you may see a very, very unfamiliar 6 through 10 at nationals this year. I don't know about any other podcasts. I don't think we've talked about this enough, and it's not our fault. It just stuff sneaks up on you. But I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a really interesting thing to watch the second half of the year. So anyway.
But we had talked about that though a lot. Is that we've considered a lot of these things to be tiers, like where it's like the people that are going to get trophies are basically like 90 to 60 some odd points.
Yeah.
And then basically everything else is like whether or not it's like 50 to 36 points.
Yeah.
Is like the entire rest of the field. And it's like, well, depending upon who does well at nationals, like you could see somebody that was projected 53 points, which is currently right now 6th in the nation. And all of a sudden they have a couple of bad matches or not have all Americans. And all of a sudden now they have 36 points, which then puts them all the way down to like 16th.
Mark, you know how smart Grant is? He just made a number up. He said the 6th place is 53 points and in the score it's 54.3. That's how smart GT is. I mean,
it amazes
he knows
me.
his math.
It amazes me, not that he's smart, but that, he coaches Grandview and they're 200 and some points every tournament. So I don't even know how he gets into the 30s and 40s. I don't even know where those. I mean, to him, that's
this
one
counts
kid.
2 guys. It's 2 guys.
I mean, that's a bad day if 2 guys can only score 30 some points for him. That's a bad day for Grandview.
If you look at like the amount of points that are scored at the NCAA tournament, though, Division I, like it's a tough tournament, right? So like if you get a guy that's why like Minnesota is all the way up there at like as high as they are.
They're 4.
Is that like you got 20 some odd points out of Gable? Like that right there is like, once again, we could have a different conversation about that at some point in time, but like if you get 8th, like what is it? Maybe like 6 points, 8 points?
5.5 without bonus.
Which is wild to me. But I just think that it's like if you get some guys in the finals, all of a sudden that carries your team in the team rankings like higher than ever, right? That's how like, Air Force like got as high as they did the one year that Hendrickson had an amazing tournament.
Yeah. What's interesting, like if you use Minnesota as an example, here's where their guys are ranked. And I'm doing this by weight. 7, 10, 5, 26, 6, 10, 21, 4, 7, 1. So they have a 1, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, and another 7 and 2 10s. So they have 5 guys in the bubble round. And they right now the rankings say they're going to go 3-2. They could go 0-5 or they could go 5-5.
Yep.
And I mean, and that's the difference. That's literally the difference.
And that's the
No,
problem.
I'm
when
sorry.
you-
They have, like McAnally is like, would make, no, he's, like he would make the semifinals. But yeah, like if you put him at 5, like Flynn bubble, Wells bubble, Vombar bubble, Askey bubble, Sparks bubble, McAnally bubble, Salazar bubble. You'd have 7 guys in the bubble round, Gable sitting in the semis, and 2 guys out if the seed's held. Their entire tournament goes on that round.
Yep.
I mean, the entire tournament, their entire season comes down. And you know what's crazy? They might not even have the right guy they want in their corner because of how that works.
And the thing is, David, under that circumstance, and I think it's like that for a lot of teams, I think Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State have separated themselves from everybody else this year with the injuries that are going on in the country. And I think all the other teams that try to get that 4th place trophy is going to be the bubble rounds. And you're going to have a lot of teams with 4 or 5 guys in that bubble round that can push them up to that 4th place trophy. What they don't have, most of them, is a Gable.
Oh, like take Oklahoma State, who's ranked ahead of Minnesota, okay? Yep. Here's their rank. Spratley 2. That's about as high as anybody thinks he's going to do. Taking Jamison 4. Same thing. He's not beating those first 3 guys. Okay. Cam Amin 7. Who knows? Dean Hamidi 3 behind Keegan and Levi. Plot 3 behind Kekheisen and Srirachi. Serber 11, Wyatt 3 behind Kirkfleet and Gable. So, they have 1, 2, 3, 5 guys ranked realistically as high as they can possibly go. So if there's any regression at all, people are going to think they wrestle badly. Like maybe they're a little overranked. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be there, but it's just like take Plot, who's a great wrestler, probably can be one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, not to win an NCAA title. Okay. He's in a weight with a 5-timer and a guy any other time would be a 2-timer. And that guy might, well, let's put it this way. One guy's going to be a 5-timer or the other guy's going to be a 2-timer. So, those kind of things are bonkers. So, okay. Next thing, Kellen Wolbert, if you guys don't know him, really good high school wrestler. But the interesting thing was he picked Oklahoma State. And the interesting thing about that is he's from Aspen Wrestling Academy. I've always said that, I've said this and I'll always believe this. It does not matter what happens in the next 50 years. Ben Askren will always be the most important single wrestler in the history of Mizzou wrestling. And it's not just because he won, and it's not just because he was cool with how he won, and a lot of people followed him, and it wasn't just that he got a Hodge, and it wasn't that he made an Olympic team, and it wasn't that he's an MMA champ. It's the pipeline that has come on top of all those things. All the kids that have come, the Keegans, the Sinclairs, there's a bunch of other guys. Like when Mirasolas didn't go there, it was kind of surprising. Okay. Now, this could just be normal dispersion. Like, hey, Askren Academy is putting out more and more kids and they can't all go to Mizzou. But it felt like for a long time, they were all going to Mizzou. So I will say this, and this is just the opinion of David Mirikitani and not this of USA Wrestling. The coaches at Wisconsin need to do a better, University of Wisconsin need to do a better job of getting along with Ben Askren. Because if they just had 165, 174, and 184 on their team, if they had Messenbrink, Keegan, and Kekheisen, probably worst case scenario, those guys all take second at nationals. Okay? Like Kekheisen probably making the finals, might lose to Starachi. Keegan probably making the finals, might lose to Levi. I don't think Messenbrink's losing, but if he has a bad match to Caliendo, he loses. That's 48 points plus bonus. Those guys are bonus machines. That's 60 points. So if you could just keep those guys in state, they'd be fifth. So, Mark, you and I talked a little bit about off the air. Do you think that this is a sign to come that Oklahoma State is making ends at Askren? Do you think this is just a one-off? Do you think Mizzou's losing their grip on Askren? Do you think Askren's just putting out so many kids that this is just the natural course of things? I'm going to go grab a bottle of water. I'm walking 4 seconds away, so I'm not leaving. Go ahead and answer the question.
Yeah, well, I think Ben has done a great job with his brother Max, developing that club. They have 2 clubs now up there, maybe 3. So as long as they keep putting out product like they are, David,
we're going to call them human beings, but okay.
They're really good wrestlers. So they're putting out some
get a text
outstanding wrestlers.
Kid's product.
Well, that's what his job is to put out
great wrestlers.
Kids. Yeah, great wrestlers. You're going to see them go to other schools besides Missouri. They don't have a choice. Missouri's not going to get them all. Obviously, Ben has a relationship with Bono in Wisconsin. Whether it's good or bad, I don't think it's very good. I have no idea. So, but you don't see Wisconsin getting his top tier kids. You and I getting one was, a surprise, and look how great he's turned out in Keckeisen. But since David Taylor took over at Oklahoma State, and we've talked many times, and I've talked to Grant about this, I really think that he will change the landscape of college wrestling. He will be right on the tails of Cale because that's where he's been the last 14 years. And he's been at Penn State working with those guys. So, and I think you're going to see it in the recruiting, and we already are seeing it because they have one of the best recruiting classes coming in, and it just keeps getting stronger and stronger. And they hit the portal with John last year and had some of these kids already coming in before he took over. He was able to, secure a couple other kids. So I think with the portal and with the young kids that he's got coming in, he's going to be right on the footsteps of Penn State. And I truly believe that.
I think that's what's interesting, right? I listened to Ben tell about why Wolbert made the decision and how it was kind of hard for him to celebrate orange and black, right? And it was an honest conversation, but he said, these other schools can't beat Penn State. Oklahoma State at least can say, hey, we can beat them. Give us, we know the formula. Nobody else can say they know the formula. And David Taylor seems like a highly cerebral guy. He's been around Cale probably, 14, 15, 16 years of his life. Seen it as a kid, pretty much, in his formative years. So he didn't have a lot of opinions he had to unbreak. Didn't have a lot of bad habits he had to unbreak. And he's obviously a superstar wrestler coming there, but I'm saying he didn't have hey, this is how you coach successfully. And then Cale's no, this is how you do it. He was 18, so you just listen and learn. Obviously, he had good mentors and influences in his life before then, but nonetheless, pretty formative years. So it'll be interesting. I tend to agree with you. I just thought it was interesting. Mirasola's kind of surprised me a little bit because Mizzou could use him. It's interesting to see. I think it's really just a quantity and quality issue of the number of studs that are coming out of that academy, and they just can't all go to one place.
And I agree.
Yeah. So, but it is interesting.
But the Mirasolas, David, if you think about it, look at the room they're in now. Look at the workout partners they have. It's just unbelievable.
You don't need to explain to me why somebody should go to Penn State.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in America that knows anything about wrestling is convince me why you should go to Penn State. I talked to one of the top 5 high school wrestling coaches in the country, and he goes, if Penn State wants you, why are you even talking to anyone else? They're winning the most national titles. They put the most guys on the world and Olympic teams, and really subtle flex. They got Dake. So they got the best wrestler of all time from Cornell. They got Snyder. They got the best all-time wrestler out of Ohio State. So if somebody goes, I'm trying to decide between Cornell, Ohio State, and Penn State, like they can go, well, their best guys came here.
Yep.
It's not checkmate, but it's check.
Yep.
I mean, that's a really strong argument. There's
Agreed.
other arguments against it, but it's a nice first move in the game. So
I do have a question for you, though, because we're talking about kids that have committed. The University of Iowa just picked up a 190-pounder out of New Jersey.
Harvey
that
Ludington.
decommitted.
Harvey Ludington.
Yeah. He had committed to Arizona State and then decommitted and then took some visits to North Carolina State, and was it Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. Are you
Okay.
asking me this or telling
Yeah,
me?
I'm asking you when did all this occur? Because I just saw it pop up the other day and I was kind of surprised.
Are you asking me the chronology of it? Like literally, I mean, does it matter? I think it's more why.
Okay.
Like, why did it happen? The why that it happened is because I think he was planning on working out with Zahid. That's what I was told.
Okay.
And so Zahid left. And so he opened up his recruiting. It's a huge recruit for Iowa. It's a huge loss for Arizona State. Yeah, you know how close I am with the Arizona State staff. Like, it's tough. They lose Ludington, they lose Teamer, they lose Parco. They lost Sahakian. You know, I mean, those are huge losses.
Yeah.
They keep grinding down there like everybody else, but it's a real thing. I'm pretty sure we're going to get Ludington in our March event. I just talked to somebody last night about it. So excited to see him in person. We got to get you to take a vacation day and come up to my event, man. You know, so we could get you on the mic. You could do some fun things for us. Like, you know, I'll pay you in hoagies and cheese fries and that kind of stuff.
That's what I need. Hoagies and cheese fries.
crab fries. Crab fries are the big things up there. Okay. So speaking of studs, Wyoming Seminary beats Faith Christian 32-24. Interesting for several reasons. First of all, the meet was at Faith. Second of all, Pennsylvania only wrestles 13 weights. Here's why that's cool. Tiebreaker is real simple. Who won 7 matches? If that ever like,
yeah.
I was telling somebody, like, we had that 9 criteria semifinal in Hall of Fame duels, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But so now there's an argument for Faith Christian to stay number 1 because they boat raced everybody at Hall of Fame at Ironman, excuse me. Sem's argument is they beat him in a duel and they didn't have Buzakis at Ironman, but they lost to him by like 90 points. So that's not enough. Bishop McCourt's argument is we placed ahead of Sem and would have placed ahead of Sem even if Buzakis pinned his way through the tournament. We lost to Faith Christian, but they lost to Sem. So there's multiple arguments in there. And this is self-serving, but that leads to Hall of Fame duels this weekend, which we're recording this on Wednesday. My tournament's Friday, Saturday. Super excited. Like, going to be really good wrestling. McCourt, Del Barton, Stillwater, Edmond North, Mass Perry, Sunnyside at 6, Pontigansett, Joliet Catholic, Arlington Martin, and Green Farms Academy. So, like, everybody's in the top 50. And everybody gets 5 duels. So it'll be really interesting. I did a podcast last night with Willie, and we talked about rankings. And you and I did college rankings. And college rankings are way easier to do than high school rankings. Okay? Like, I feel comfortable saying that. Like, it's not self-serving. Like, it'd be self-serving to say what we're doing is harder. When you say what you're doing is easier, you should probably believe that person.
Yeah.
Because there's way more data. Okay. And there's also like 20 good teams at the most. And the other thing is when you rank them, the kids in college, the team rankings take care of themselves.
Yep.
We don't ever do team rankings. You just put it in a freaking template. So I'm super interested because here's the other team. Nobody's talking about Del Barton, but they have a path to number 1. because they beat McCourt this weekend, and then they went out. They dual sem too. I'm not saying they're going to win all these matches, okay? This is not a prediction. This is just a path. But it's going to be on Matt Scouts on the Rockfin channel this weekend. So I think Beast of the East is this weekend too. But, I mean, I'm telling you, great wrestling. Hardell and I will be on the Scramble Cam until the finals, and then we'll be on the finals. So just we're excited.
Excuse me. Yeah, let's be. I mean, the teams that you were able to bring in this year is phenomenal. And with McCourt kind of being, the focal point, I would say right now, just because of the guys that are on the team. I think they got the number 1 and number 2 ranked kids in the class of 26.
They have the star power, right? But like we talk about this numerous times. In a tournament, your best kids win the meet for you, and in a dual meet, the worst guys decided.
Yeah.
And me and Willie dove pretty deep on this last night, but like 2 years ago, Joe Jeter was a freshman and nobody knew who he was. Now he's a stud. But he only lost to Cale Hughes 6-0. You felt the momentum change in that duel. It felt like a win for Edmond North. And they ended up beating them by 2 points. So, like, if Hughes texts him, it's a tie. If he pins him, Stillwater wins.
Yep.
So, like, you coached a long time, and like my dad was the kind of guy, he just rolled his 10 guys out. Like he almost didn't care about the duels. Like, all right, we're just going to wrestle our guys. That's not the best approach if you're trying to win a duel. And I love my dad, but like, he just didn't do that very often. When I started coaching with him, we did things a lot more strategically. And but part of it too was he didn't really study the other lineup. He was worried about getting his own guys better. But now it's like, okay, if we have to wrestle Tony Davis and our guy's really good and the guy above Tony Davis isn't that good, we're going to put in a fish against Tony Davis, and maybe we give up 6, but we win the next one and we can get a major, and we're only down net 2 instead of get majored and get beat and down 7.
Yep.
We save ourselves 5 points on the duel, and that we think we can go within Iowa Central, the other 8 weights. We can beat them 5 out of 8, so we can win the duel, kind of thing. Just hypothetical. I mean, I think people understand what we're talking about. So,
sure.
Yeah. So I don't know which matchups we're going to see. Like I have the program. I sent it to you. You can watch it. If you watch it, I'm going to give you a shout out on the air. You're my guy. But like somebody goes, oh, well, Mark Ostrander and Jax Forrest are at the same weight. Well, they may not wrestle. They may move stuff around,
Sure.
And they're not obligated. Their job's to win the duel.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. But Sergio Vega and Jax and Bo are all kind of spread out, but it'd be cool if somehow some of those guys hit or something. But those names, Jaden James will be there. Jeter will be there. Cody Rutledge will be there. So there's at least like 4 or 5 number 1 kids in the country in the meet. Joe Jeter. So just a bunch of ranked guys, and a bunch of guys will end up being in the preps versus everybody meet on the everybody side of things. So super excited about that. Not your wheelhouse, Mark, but the No-Gi Worlds happened.
Yeah, not my wheelhouse.
Well, Helen Maroulis won. Got to talk to Pritz about that.
Does not surprise me.
He said to me exactly what I said to you, which is she loves it. It's a new challenge. It's a new Rubik's Cube. It's fun. Like, you get to a point, like if you're really good at something, the improvements are so marginal, they feel boring. She's learning new stuff every day that makes a big difference because she just started doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this again. She had to fight at blue belt. I'm going to say this one more time for the slow people. She had to fight at blue belt. You start at white belt. They will not let you fight at white belt if you have any sort of wrestling pedigree. She probably had the greatest wrestling pedigree of anybody in that tournament. You are not allowed to go to purple belt until you've competed as a blue belt. It is a very different system than wrestling. In wrestling, if I'm the defending state champ and you can walk in and thump me, it's not like, well, you're not even allowed to work out with that guy. You're not allowed to compete with that guy. That's how it is in jiu-jitsu. Like if I'm a black belt, you can't fight with me you can practice with me, but you can't compete with me.
Sure.
Not here to argue about which way is better. It is what it is. Just explaining that to people. Pat Downey, in only the way Pat Downey could do it, proud Iowa Central alum, wins the tournament, chokes the guy out. When the guy wakes up, he does the sleep sign to him. They start arguing. The guy assaulted Pat first. And you don't see this at jiu-jitsu. These guys, jiu-jitsu guys almost drive me crazy. Everybody wants to hug everybody. Like the losers want to hug, the winners want to hug. And I coach Mike, I'm like, stop hugging. Like it's a fight. You can shake the person's hand. You can talk to him afterwards. If you've already mentally prepared to hug this person, probably not going to go quite as hard as you can. Pat Downey, not in the hugging category. It was turned into a fight, and they double DQ'd him. So there was no gold or silver medal. Can't make this stuff up.
Wow.
It's on video. So, okay. The Kunaev International Open is this weekend. GT got a call here. We're going to talk about it. We're sending a small contingent. Kazakhstan, I believe, probably the headline there is Spencer Lee's first matches since Olympics.
Yep.
I haven't known you real long, but you like Iowa a little bit, so I'm assuming you're a little bit excited about this.
Yeah, I want to see how he's progressed, what's his shape like. I'm sure he's trying to prepare for next year's Worlds, so he wants to get some matches in. And I think it's great that he's going across the seas to do it. I don't think we send enough guys to tournaments, the international tournaments, to meet some of these guys, get the points. I've never understood it. Like Michik, he went to pretty much everything for a year. He was the number one seed at the Olympics that year?
He's been the number one seed at Olympics both times.
Yeah.
So he just didn't go because he couldn't make weight.
Yeah. He goes out and he wrestles. And that's, to me, what this is supposed to be all about. And you're not getting thrown in against somebody. You know where you're going to be on the bracket, and let them come to you. And I like that, philosophy.
I think it's a good sign for Spencer because, I probably owe you wings because I bet you I don't think we ever see Spencer Lee at the Olympic trials because he was just so banged up. You bet otherwise, and clearly you're right, 100% right.
Well, I said if he was healthy, he was the best kid in the United States.
That wasn't the bet. The bet was whether he'd be healthy.
Yeah.
I wasn't arguing with you that he's not the best guy. But I'm like, I don't think 60% Spencer Lee beats Gilman, Fix, Zane, etc. Okay. And so you're right, but I'm saying I don't think I was crazy in being wrong. I felt like he might struggle, He doesn't have to wrestle to make our team. He's already in Final X.
Yep.
So I think it's extra encouraging that he's wrestling.
Yep.
So be great to see how he does. Excited for that. Quick summary of last week. Oklahoma State beats OU 9 out of 10 at Bedlam. Penn State shuts out Wyoming. The big duel of this week is Virginia Tech at Oklahoma State, which we're going to pick. But there's also some other good duels this weekend. Maryland, South Dakota State, Rider, and Pittsburgh are all together. And the only reason I bring that up, Mark, is at 184, it's Reese Heller, Jackson Smith, the Isaiah Dean, and Berge are all in the same weight class. So I don't think people would think that's a barn burner. And it's not a barn burner at all 10 weights, but that weight's going to be really good. So Then the collegiate duels are this weekend. Iowa State, Ohio State's probably the big matchup on Saturday. I don't know how healthy either one of those teams are going to be. I wouldn't even presume to pick great matchups. There was a bunch of rumors that Rocco Welsh was going to go in the portal, and these were just rumors. but that he was headed to cowboy country. And then he just posted on Twitter himself, I'm staying home, go Bucks. So again, none of that means anything, but Ohio State news, just so people don't think we don't know what we're talking about. Sunday, Little Rock versus Mizzou, NC State Cornell, Little Rock Penn State, and Mizzou Penn State. So Mizzou Penn State, way better duel if everybody's healthy, but probably the match of the year that's not an all-star match, Keegan and Levi.
Yep.
So really important thing to keep an eye on there. That probably sets the seeds for, and it's important in the sense that we feel like Dean Hamidi is clearly the third best guy. If you're Dean Hamidi, you're rooting for Keegan. Because then if you can beat Keegan, you can be the one and put those two on the other side together.
Sure.
If Levi won and went undefeated and Hamidi beat Keegan, the coach's vote is going to go to Levi. And so, like, if you're Hamidi, that's what you're rooting for. And that's where a guy goes, okay, like he's the 1 seed. He's probably going to make the finals, probably 50-50 on whether or not he beats the other 2 guys, but second place points worth more than third place points, obviously.
Yeah.
You got a pick for that match?
I
I mean, you don't have to. I'm just asking.
I think Haynes is probably the best kid in the country right now. You know, at that weight. So I'm gonna go with Haynes to win.
Okay.
And I like Keegan a lot. I like his style. I think Keegan could. I think Keegan obviously is good enough to beat Haynes. But it seems like for some reason every year I don't think some of these Penn State guys are going to be able to, you know, do what they're going to do. Like, you know, I didn't pick Haynes to win it last year, and he did. So, you know, I'm gonna change my philosophy, and I'm gonna go with Haynes.
Okay. We're not going to blow through the rankings because there was not a lot of data points this week, Mark. But here are the upsets. Thank you, Flow Wrestling. Willie McDougal over Carter Young. That was 16-14, so not much of a change. That was overtime. Binghamton. I'm just going to ones that people know about. Reese Whitcraft was 22. He was getting beat 8-1, and then he stuck Cleveland Belton. So that's tough. Max Stout, number 21, beat Rigotsky, who's 15. Probably the biggest one is Tayshawn Glover from North Dakota State beat Christian Carroll. You have unbeaten, beaten number 15, or unranked, beaten number 15. And then the other one, probably the 2 other big ones on paper, Takeo Davis of Gardner Webb beat Dylan Shawver 11-6. That's really shocking. Yep. Jared Kessler beat Sammy Sasso 13-11. I think we chalk that up to where is Sasso health-wise? Like, we just don't know. Okay, I think we're all like, we're supposed to be Switzerland on this show, but it's really hard to not root for Sammy Sasso.
Wasn't there another one at like 133?
No. That was last week, Mark.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to get there. I'm the host of the show. I won't forget it.
Okay.
Okay.
This was a big one.
Dang, GT. Like, I had to put the guru of the show. Like,
this was a big one.
Let me
Come
get
on,
to
say it, David.
Nasir Bailey loses 12-3. And so, Mike, to Chattanooga. Now, that guy also beat Knox. Okay.
Last year.
Right. But I'm saying, so the guy has, his ceiling is super high, obviously. Right. So, I mean, this is not a good loss for Nasir. I mean, it means no difference at the end of the year, and the rankings have not changed yet. So that's why I didn't, that's why I didn't lead with it. Okay. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens because Nasir hasn't wrestled anybody good yet. So how far does he fall? And how far does he fall in the rankings versus the rubric and all that? So GT was over. We missed GT for about 15 minutes while he was plotting the takeover of the shoes of the 22nd century. We already know what color the Nike is going to be in 2036. What stage the beard will be in, everything else. Like, it's
those Oklahoma State singles look really good.
Yes, yeah, those The Chevron thing was for fire, bro.
Give somebody some credit. I don't know if it's Grant or whoever did it.
Hey, I'm a vault. Grant showed me a picture of those a couple months ago. I was like, bro, those hit hard. Have you gotten a lot of feedback about those, GT?
I can neither confirm nor deny any allegations that have been presented on this program.
I got Nazir Bailey losing 12-3. It's just, I mean, I could see getting beat 4-3. I could see getting beaten overtime. I could see having a bad weight cut and not performing. 12-3 is a butt kicking. I mean, that is a beat down. And something's going on.
You might have just had a bad weight cut.
Well, I think the one thing that I think we all need to kind of realize with the new point system, like 12-3 is not necessarily as much of a shellacking as it was maybe previously, because that's just maybe one big move and one takedown.
Yeah, if you go, hey, feet to back 7, okay, the rest of the match was 5-3.
And once again, I haven't seen the match.
6-second sequence.
I haven't watched the match, so I don't know like if it's truly as bad as it maybe looks. Because you can also you could win 5-3 and just be completely dominant.
Yeah.
So I think that and once again, I think Nasir Bailey also lost to Lucas Bird, which once again, I know that doesn't necessarily count, but it kind of counts in the frame of like, we've seen him wrestle somebody really talented.
Yeah, he lost 1-0 or something. Yeah, I mean, so we're not going to assume this chat guy's better than Lucas Bird. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I think but one of the thing, like I think and once again, this is not a disrespectful thing, but I don't know the gentleman from Chattanooga as probably well as I should. But you look at that result and all of a sudden you think 12-3, also, maybe a guy that isn't necessarily on the national stage when it comes to like, Lucas Bird or, Dayton Fix or Frost or Ragusan or somebody like that. 12-3 is an alarming score.
That's what I thought.
But
alarming is such a great word.
But I think that also when you think about it, it's one match, and it also with the new point structure could be just one big move or like a couple of takedowns, maybe a reversal, something like that, where you can get to 12 points pretty easy now.
Blake Borman is 5-2 this year. He beat Appalachian State. He beat Kyle Berwick. He lost to Ethan Oakley from North Carolina, 4-1 in overtime. Beat Tommy Maddox. Beat Franklin and Marshall. Lost to Buzakis. And then beat Nasir Bailey.
How bad did he lose to Buzakis?
12-7. Again, is one move.
Oh.
If you're within a touchdown, it's one move. So, anyway, it'll be very interesting to see how the rankings change. Rankings next week so next week, folks, we're going to record on Monday if at all possible, based on Grant's, Mark's, and mine schedule, but it's obviously we're not going to do it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but I don't think we'll have the rankings on Monday.
Oh.
So we'll just have to talk about what happened at the collegiate duels. Those will probably be the major needle movers. We'll be a week behind for 2 weeks, because then the next week we'll do it. We'll have those cut up, and then we won't have your plethora of Christmas tournaments, Midlands, Soldier Salute. I think Scuffle now is like January 5 and 6, somebody told me, but maybe I got to look that up. So
yeah, Brand
is nodding. So anyway. Okay, so
I'm really excited here. I'm getting kind of excited, David.
About?
Because I know what we're going to do, and I'm pretty excited about it. We're going to pick a duel, aren't we?
We're going
to pick a duel, aren't we, David?
So
yep.
what's funny is that shout out to Matt King, shout out to Christian Thompson. There's a guy that I met with earlier this week that is talking about doing some stuff to upgrade our podcast in terms of the sizzle. And I showed him this website and he's like, oh my God, this is like the coolest thing ever. So if you're not using Matt King's, you're not really getting the full user experience for wrestling. Like, you get to see where these guys are ranked all along, the teams, what different sources rank them. If you're not watching this, well, if you are watching this, you can see that we have the names lined up. It has, for example, Troy Spratly or Reese Whitcraft. He's ranked as low as 18, high as 15, or 13 is ranked as 15 and a half. We normally have 3 sources. Only 2 sources came out this week. And then we can compare that to Carter McGonigal. And so you can look at those. So, and then the site is awesome. The guy with greens are favored, but then we can look at how close they are, and we're going to make picks that are guaranteed to be wrong. I am going to be there, Grant. So Ron and Jan are going to be there. So that's probably worth 1 or 2 team points for Oklahoma State. So when you're making your picks accordingly, just make sure that you know about that. So let's walk through the lineup, the matchups quickly, then we'll circle back and get picks. And obviously it's subject to change, but on paper, awesome matchups. Troy Spratly versus Ventresca, 2 versus 4. Whitcraft versus McGonigal, 16 versus 15. Jamison versus Latona, 4 versus 12. Carter Young, 18 versus 1. Caleb Fish, Hippolito, 14 versus 16. I'm laughing just how close a lot of these are. Cam Amin, Mac Church, 7 and 23. Hamidi Wolak, 3-4. Plot TJ Stewart, 3-17, but both returning All-Americans. Luke Serber, Andy Smith, 11 and 9, and Andy Smith has beaten Luke Serber. Wyatt Hendrickson, Jimmy Mullen, 3 and 13. I will say this quickly. It feels like Caleb Henson is a pretty big favorite to win. I think Cam Amin's a pretty big favorite to win. Plot's a pretty big favorite to win. Wyatt Hendrickson's a pretty big favorite to win. So I think I'm not even sure how comfortable I feel about taking Jamison over Latona, which is a fairly big gap. But if you give them that, it's 4-1 for Oklahoma State in the pretty sures, and then tons of toss-ups. All right, Mark, you were given, you knew, what do the kids say, GT? You knew the assignment? Is that still a saying? It is?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Mark, GT, David, here we go. We are recording picks for posterity's sake. Marco, we'll let you start at 25.
I'm going to go Ventresca decision.
VT. Okay. Grant, I know you're going Spratly, right?
Spratly decision.
I'm going to go Spratly. Okay, we'll go in order. Grant, you got 33.
I'm going to take Reese Whitcraft.
Okay.
By decision.
Grant's got Whitcraft. I'm going to go, I think I picked McGonigal to be an All-American in the preseason, so I think I have to pick him. Mark?
I'm going to take Whitcraft to win this match.
Okay. 41. I'm first. I'll take Jamison by decision. Mark?
I'm going to take Latona by decision.
Okay.
Upset.
GT?
Take Jamison by decision.
Okay. Mark, 49.
Caleb Hansen by a major.
GT?
I'll take Caleb Henson by tech fall.
Ooh. I'll go decision. I'm sorry, major, excuse me. Okay. 57. Probably one of the biggest, more interesting bouts of the night. And for people that don't know, Caleb Fish came out of red shirt. Teague Travis hurt his knee, so he's got a medical red shirt. He's another kid that wrestled in border brawl, an awesome kid. Nice to have depth like Caleb Fish in your lineup, boys. So, GT, you're first here. Fish and Hippolito.
I'll take Caleb Fish by decision.
Okay. I'm gonna take Fish too, but I'm kind of rooting for Hippolito because I'd like this duel to be interesting. Mark?
Hippolito.
Mark, you got VT winning 4 of the first 5 matches.
They're on a roll.
Okay.
It's not going to end up so good for them, but they're on a roll right now.
All right. 65. I'll take Cam Amin by decision. Mark?
Same here. Same here.
GT.
Yep.
Okay. 74. I have a feeling we're going to be in agreement on this, but this is a really good matchup on paper. Hamidi is 3. Lenny Wolak is 4.
Hamidi by decision.
Grant.
I'm going to take Wolak by decision.
Wow. Okay.
But I haven't really seen him wrestle this year, which is the one thing that has been kind of crazy for me.
I saw his match with Keegan, and it was like close for like 3.5 minutes. And this is a testament to what you were talking about, where matches the score can be misleading. Like he ended up getting majored, was pretty close most of the time. Okay, where are we at? We're at 84. That's Grant's pick. He's first.
Plot by major.
I completely agree with that one. Mark?
Oh, I got to go plot by decision. I don't think he's majoring in All-America. Stewart's tough.
Yeah, he's going to get tired.
Well, that happens.
I think 97. So am I right here? I mean, because we're going pretty fast on this. I want to go to WrestleStat here real quick. Did these guys wrestle twice already? Or just did they wrestle at, I know they wrestled at Cliff Keen. Did they wrestle anywhere else? Do we know?
Not sure where else they would wrestle.
All right, let me pull up Serber. Serber's 10-1. And his only loss is to Andy Smith.
Did we get a score on that, David?
4-3.
Good match. Good match.
Andy Smith is 4-2. He lost to Cardenas, which really doesn't count. And he lost by medical forfeit to Joey Novak, which doesn't count. And he's had a good year. He's beaten Sinclair, Poznansky, and Serber. Okay. I'm going to take Andy Smith. Mark?
I'm going to take Serber.
GT?
I'm going to take Serber.
Okay. Greatest American hero, Mark or Jimmy Mullen?
Fall Wyatt Hendrickson.
Fall. Wow. Okay. Grant?
I'm going to take Wyatt by Tech.
I have it by Tech also. All right. So let's see what we got here, boys. Mark's got Virginia Tech winning 1, 2, 3, 4 matches and 1 bonus point. So that's 13. He's got Oklahoma State winning 6 matches plus a pin. So he's got a 21-13. Okay. Grant's got Virginia Tech winning just 2 matches. So he's got it. Wow. Okay. So that's 2 plus the bonus is 8. And Oklahoma State with 3 bonus points, 27-8. I've got Virginia Tech winning 1, 2, 3 matches and 1 bonus point. So that's 10. Oklahoma State winning 7, 21, 22, 24, 10. Okay, we're doing good on time. So let's just say this. Well, not a lot of time, but the path to victory for Virginia Tech, they got to win 25. The realistic ones they got to win is 25, 33, 49, 57, 74, 97. And they could win 41. Let's count that again. 25 is 1, 33 is 2, 49 is 3, 57 is 4, 74 is 5. They can win 6 matches. And if they win 6 matches, they win the duel. Because Oklahoma, none of us think it's going to happen. We made our picks, but I'm just saying, like, that's their path, right?
Yeah.
Okay. GT, you were busy conquering the world. We talked quickly about Hall of Fame duels. I just want to thank Leroy Smith, Ed Gallegos, Jack Carnifex, Ethan Kyle, Lindsay Hammer, Laura Hornacek, Ethan Kyle, all the coaches that put their trust in us to run a great event, all the announcers coming down, Jeremy Rook streaming, Alex Steen, day of event. I know I'm missing people, but at least want to thank as many people publicly as I can. That tournament's a labor of love. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year. Brandon Mason's going to have us all over Saturday night. That's going to be a lot of fun. Tailgate tomorrow night before the meet. Willie and I are going to do a podcast tomorrow at 3 from the Hall of Fame with Leroy. So it should be really awesome. And that's it. I'm going to say thank you about that. And we want to thank everybody who watches and listens. We really appreciate you guys. We have a couple more episodes, but it's been a great year for us. We appreciate you making us a part of your week. And thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll see you all next week.